I was trying to look at the knitting factory, not to get ahead. I don't think it's in the same place. Is it in the same place it was before?
It's in Hollywood, North Hollywood.
I found a place. Yeah.
I think there's also in there one in New York too.
Yeah, there's one in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah, the knitting factory, that was a very cool place to play. That was like one of those iconic places, that a lot of bands play. It's super nice. I think it's probably, that's probably the nicest place we've ever played, I believe. Because it was completely, normally you go play somewhere and they'd have kind of an okay PA or even like a rundown PA, maybe it was nice at one time.
Yeah.
But then you'd also have somebody that kind of knew how to run sound, but maybe not, or I don't know. But the knitting factory, they had professional lighting. It was a professional, nice wood floor stage. They had the whole, behind the stage, like the real like green room, the hallway leading up to the stage.
Yeah.
It was professional sound, you could actually hear yourself in the monitors, all of that kind of stuff.
Well, and it was also like, we played the big room, right? We played the big stage.
Yeah.
And so I came back with Feral and Fashion. We played there. We played the small room. We did a showcase for Vagrant Records, and we played the small room. But I remember being there, being like, man, this place is like. I remember when we were there, we were like, this place is too nice for us to be here.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nice stage, and like everything was like, it was clean and it didn't smell like, stale beer and cigarettes.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is not the type of place that we would play. That's, it's not a church.
Yeah. So I do remember, I remember a lot about that show. We got there, it was, they fed us and it was they had a really nice restaurant inside the place.
Yep.
And, I remember as we're sitting there eating, that's it right there. But as we're sitting there, we're eating, eating good for a change at this point. And this guy walks up to us named Mark Wolfson. He was what was he, A&R guy for Playtone Records, which if you've ever heard of Playtone Records, it's the record label that I don't know if it was in the beginning a fictitious record label, but it's the record label that's in that movie, That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
And with Tom Hanks. And so I remember Mark, super exactly what you would expect from a record label A&R guy. And Sony owned Playtone Records. So, and I think they started doing this. I think that record label started from doing the soundtrack for that movie, That Thing You Do. I believe that's right. And anyway, we're eating. Mark, he comes up to us and just introduces himself, and at least this is the way I remember it. And said, asked us who we were, and he was there to watch some girl that was some like a singer songwriter type acoustic, I believe. Some girl playing acoustic guitar in like the small room, and there was nobody there. I don't remember seeing anybody else there, but
was empty.
Us and the people that were there.
Remember how bad it was raining?
Yes, rain. I remember that too. We were just happy to. It's a Sunday. We got a free dinner, free food, and $100.
A really nice place to practice.
Right.
Yes.
And I remember, I actually remember there was like some like bar, like not like the bar, but like some bar top areas. And there might have been like 5 people watching.
Yeah.
And Mark was with some other woman was with him.
And I remember when his thing was done, he came out and he did watch us too. Yep. And I remember him giving us his card. And so let me look real quick. So this show was after, this show was after the Knitting Factory, but we were still hanging out and staying at Kendall's house.
Yep. It was after Chain Reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. But none of those people came and watched us play. No. Anyway, but yeah. So So we were still, our stuff is still, our clothes, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we had it with us, but we were still staying at Kendall's house. And here's this record label guy from, Sony Records and Playtone Records. He gives us his card. He watches us play. He seemed pretty interested in our band. And so he ends up scheduling some practice, so out in California, they had things that we don't have definitely here in Alabama and Georgia, at least where we live. And they probably do where Chris is, maybe up there in Nashville, I'm sure. But practice warehouses, basically. It's like a metal building that has a bunch of rooms where a bunch of different bands can go in and kind of rent a studio, rent a practice space.
A lot of them were like old hotels,
or maybe on a monthly basis, huh?
They were like old motels. Some of them in Los Angeles, they're everywhere because a lot of old motels are converted into. They rent the rooms out for practice space.
Yeah, and some of them would have sound system in there. Some of them you had to bring your own, that kind of thing. But and I remember, so we had actually done the same thing this week before with Drive-Thru Records. Of course, Drive-Thru Records, if you guys remember, they made us. We had to go and rent the studio ourselves.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah.
The practice space. Now it was cool because we're in there and we're renting the little practice space, and you could hear all the other bands down the hall doing their thing, practicing their music. And but I remember I just remember we were really, maybe we hadn't eaten good. I don't know what it was, but we were wore out at this time, because let's see, how far are we on this tour at this point? We are towards the end of the month, and I think we had been, let's see, I'm sharing that again. Yeah, so we had been on tour since basically the beginning of October, and here it is towards the end of October, and we started out in Tennessee and North Carolina, and then South Carolina, North Carolina, and then here we are out in California. So I do remember being dehydrated out there. I don't know. I think it's just because we didn't have a lot to. Our $5 per diem, and we were wore out anyway. Just not enough sleep, not enough food, and I remember meeting the brother and sister that owned Drive-Thru Records. They flew in that day. They came in, and we rented the space. They came in and watched us play, and they basically immediately left. If that's kind of how I remember it. Maybe you guys remember a little bit more.
I think they basically said, like, we already have bands like you guys.
Yeah. Maybe say I don't remember after, like, say that first week of November there and Halloween. I don't remember any of that right now, but maybe it was that maybe we stayed in California that week because we did film for G-Rock. I do remember doing some of that too.
Yeah.
And we played for Drive-Thru Records, and we played for Playtone Records.
Yeah.
So just with that real quick, just going back to that, the contrast there with Drive-Thru and Playtone. So Drive-Thru, brother and sister own. I think they made it big off of, is Drive-Thru still, are they still doing stuff?
I don't know. I think Newfound Glory started out with Drive-Thru, the starting line.
I mean, they got kind of big with what, Phoenix TX?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the band that kind of put them on the map a little bit? So they were still riding that Phoenix TX, at least from my point of view. I could be completely wrong with this, but that's just the way I always thought about it. They were riding that high and probably made some money from that, and they were looking for that next big thing, so here they are to check out Jeremiah's Grottos if we're that next big thing.
Well, the guys from the Benjamins were the ones who set it up for us.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they were on Drive-Thru. When we did that thing in Milwaukee, they were like, "Man, you guys got to go Drive-Thru."
I remember they were playing the recording for Dashboard. They had done a release for Dashboard Professional. They played some of that before it was released. Had some of. I'm looking at their Wikipedia page. It looks like they are not actively.
That's neat too. You think about that tour. I mean, just a few weeks before this, 2 or 3 weeks before this is when we met the Benjamins, and and just the momentum we had the momentum going. I mean, it's crazy. Just from day to day, how things were just progressing and things were happening, and I don't remember a whole lot about playing in front of Drive-Thru Records. I just remember the brother and sister. I don't know. I don't know if they just didn't like us or what it was, but I just didn't. It didn't click.
Yeah,
I remember it just being very awkward. Yeah,
it was awkward.
Two people sitting on the couch watching you.
I think you know what I think they had a problem with though is we were very open about our faith, and that was not their agenda at all.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, we were also open about our faith with Mark, and he was like, "Yeah, whatever."
I was looking him up too. He's on IMDb. Mark Wolfson is on IMDb, and all his credits are movies that he's.
Wow.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding, That Thing You Do, several movies, Married to the Mob that he did soundtracks for, and then Playtone Records. That Thing You Do was the first one they did. So like we met him kind of right after that, but they ended up doing the Sopranos soundtracks was released on Playtone.
Wow.
Bring It On, Josie and the Pussycats, Band of Brothers, My Big Fat Greek Wedding,
cool.
The Truth About Charlie. There was a bunch of movies that they did soundtracks for. I think they kind of dabbled in bands for a little while, then realized they just wanted to release movie soundtracks. But
you still got Mark Wolfson's contact?
I do. I still have his phone number.
You should reach out to him.
Be like, hey, we're ready to add that keyboard player.
We're ready.
Yeah,
we're ready now.
He's got a movie coming up. He wants us to play music on. So do you have a bad?
I would. So when we did the thing for Drive-Thru, it was just the brother and sister. They came in, watched us, and that was pretty much it, and left. With Playtone, they paid for the studio. It was small. I remember it being kind of small, and but he had like, if I remember right, he had 3 ladies with him.
And a camera. Do
you remember that?
Yeah.
And at least one of them, maybe a couple of them had a camera, a video camera, and they filmed us playing, and they would even stop and be like, okay, it seems like they kind of moved us around a little bit. They would just kind of
reposition us on stage.
Yeah. That's weird.
Because we had our stage position.
I would love to see that footage.
David and I were on the wings, and Ben was in the center, because it was like, well, we're both going to sing.
Yeah.
And so it was more symmetrical. I don't know what the thought was, but that's just how it was. And I think he put you in the center, David.
Yeah.
And Ben and I out on the wings. Which was like, I don't think we really cared.
No.
But,
yeah.
I was probably
I just remember being so just tired. I don't know. I just remember being so wore out doing that. But I would love if we could get footage of that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna text him.
He's probably watching it right now. Like, he probably watches it every day.
Hey, send me that video you made 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It
was like, lose my number.
His nickname was like Wolfman or something too?
Man.
Wolfman.
Yep.
He was cool. You never know. He's like, man, what is he's ready for that next big thing. He's like, I wonder whatever happened with Jeremiah's Grotto. And then he's going to listen. He probably listens to podcasts, and he's going to just stumble across our podcast.
We should ask him to be on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh, that would be awesome. Well, reach out to him.
I'm going to.
He's been living with the regret all these years.
Yeah. He's like we're the one that got away. It's like oh my god!
Yeah. Well, do you remember why we didn't go further with that?
Yeah. What now? Do
you remember why we didn't get to go any further with him on that?
I'm not really sure. I remember something about they wanted us to have a keyboard player, but I don't really remember. Besides that,
you and I spoke a lot about this whenever. So he gave us feedback. He said you need a keyboard player. And I want to bring in, and he was rattling off, I know these people, and we're going to put them in here. Like he was like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you and I were like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
And what we, partially right, partially ignorant.
Like a tambourine player.
Yeah. You can't just throw people into this band because one, we're we're Christians and this is our faith and this is what we like, this is what we believe, and we can't have the mix of like, just like, probably what we thought was like, this Hollywood guy, which probably wasn't really the case. But
what does this guy know? I mean, we're about to sign with Drive-Thru Records. I mean,
we're about to get told no by Drive-Thru. Maybe you missed the spot where we had a Screaming Giant sticker on our trailer.
Yeah.
But so there was that was like, we were like, no, you can't just add someone because of, our faith. And then you and I were also like, we don't need to add a fifth person. And we were talking about how weird that would be. Like, 5 people in a band. Like, that's just, doesn't make sense. Who's this guy? Like, he just doesn't understand our music. And that's the ignorant part of us is like, there's some things we just should have, like, advice, there's always, like, growing up, right? There's always advice you should have taken that you don't. But I mean, it all happened for a reason. So
forgot that 3 days earlier we were begging for food at Denny's.
This guy couldn't have got us free Grand Slams.
We'd be doing the same podcast right now, probably.
Right.
Even though,
right.
Except we'd have a gold record on the wall.
Right.
And money in the bank.
It'd be the exact same podcast. We're sitting here, but you'd see that gold record back there.
Yeah.
It had some money in the bank. Yeah.
That's a cool
that's why we didn't like go any further with him. And he was like, and he was like super. I remember he was like really candid.
We'll call him and tell him we've thought about it.
We've had some time to consider.
We've had some time to really take your suggestions to heart.
We've come to our senses.
Yeah.
But well, he did say take some time and think about it.
Yeah.
Take some time, whatever time you need.
His fault for not being specific enough.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, anyway, yeah.
But that was and he's like, look, if we can't make some adjustments like that, then he's like, nah, he wasn't interested, and he was very like candid with it. Like, he didn't beat around the bush.
That was probably a test too, to be like, hey, is this band willing to work with me?
Yeah.
And we failed. We failed that.
Miserably.
Yeah.
I bet those girls that he had, because they weren't they like dressed in like suits or something? Like they were all dressed the same. It seemed like, I don't know,
like a Robert Palmer video.
Yes, in my brain, that's what it was. In my brain, that's exactly. Wait a minute, I'm getting those two things confused. No, in my brain, that's exactly how it was, though.
They were all moving like the same. They were like,
yeah.
How to think about? Yeah, they were all. Like,
wow.
But the camera, probably wasn't even on. It was probably like he probably met them down, at some club somewhere. Like, hey, I got
it's probably a scam. Like we were in there doing that, and he had like some other dudes out there rummaging through the van. Like, there's nothing worth saying.
These guys are broke.
There's like a broken Super Nintendo, and that's about it.
Yeah, the joke's on us. Yeah.
Yeah.
According to Mark's IMDb. Yeah. According to his track history.
Yeah. Well, it's
the
a long con, David. You're not thinking about the bigger picture.
Oh, the long. Okay. Yeah. The long game.
Still working
it. Man, but I will say, I mean, we've got a pretty good story out of that. Just that whole.
Wasn't that like really? I mean, when you look at it now, it was so awesome. Like there was no financial gain out of it, but like just the experiences and the adventure of doing that all was like.
I mean, even how many bands even went through that though? What we did.
Yeah.
I mean, just meeting. I mean, that was crazy,
Yeah, you think of like bands, right? That get to do and go and see everything that we have, and then, or even just people in general. How many people just like, you know what? Yeah, we don't really have money. None of us come from money. Let's go out and drive around the country and, just see if we can get gas money and food for.
I don't remember even thinking about how were we going to put? I mean, there was a couple of times where we were like, man, we don't have money for gas, but it always worked out. But I don't remember really thinking that much about the next meal or the next time we were going to fill up with gas. I don't remember thinking about. Huh?
Like if you look at like, so we were all what in our like early 20s. Dave, you were like what, early 40s? So we think like the internal
mid 40s.
The internal risk analysis that goes along with like kids now.
Well, really, let's say, how old were we? I would have been.
I was 22, 20.
I think I was 25.
Yeah, that's probably about right. You're going to be 50 this year?
Man.
In 2000? Yeah, I was 23 at that point.
Yeah, I think I was like, in this year, it's probably 23. I think, Ben, you and I were closer.
Yeah, David was.
Yep, I was 25.
Well above that. Well beyond that.
Right. Yeah, I was 25. Yep. I would have been 26 this year. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many, like, you know, now just no one has that, like, we're just going to go out there and, like that movie Captain Ron, right? Like, where Captain Ron's like, you know, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. That was our philosophy. Like,
how many of Chris's stories end in a Captain Ron analogy? Man.
Hold on, what is that Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
With the iPad or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, at least he didn't bring up Brendan Fraser again.
Did I bring him up before?
Monkey Bone. You're always talking about Monkey Bone.
Didn't we see that on like over? That was.
Yes.
Was that the movie we saw in North Dakota?
Maybe.
I think that was, and we're like, wow, that was really bad.
Even for Brendan Fraser, that's a bad movie.
Even for Brendan Fraser.
Who clearly never.
Encino Man was really good. What are you talking about?
Encino Man was fun.
And Blast from the Past was really good. School Ties.
The Mummy. The first Mummy.
The Mummy. Oh, it just got better with the Mummy.
Yeah.
George of the Jungle.
There's a Jim.
Dudley Do Right. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, this is time to like show how many movies you can name with Brendan Fraser and Captain.
I'm just saying, if Brendan Fraser was at the Knitting Factory and Mark Wolfson offered him a contract, he probably would have said, "We need a keyboard player. Sure, I'll take a keyboard player." He would have said yes to whatever.
Yeah,
he don't turn anything down. Not turning anything down.
And this is the part of the show where we lost Brendan Fraser as in our audience
and all his fans.
He just found our podcast and now he's like unfollowed.
Sorry.
So now we're down to 9 subscribers.
Right. Ooh.